All right, welcome back to part 2 of Sean's 3D printing adventures. As you can see, the printer's finally arrived. Before we do the unboxing, I do want to talk through 2 points real quick. Number one, I did want to be transparent with everyone. So I did have a little bit of shipping issues, not a huge deal, but so I ordered this printer 9 days ago. I paid for the 2 to 3 day FedEx shipping, and it took 9 days to get here. Obviously, we're dealing with international shipping. And then FedEx drug their feet just a little bit once it got into the US. Not a huge deal, but I did just want to be upfront with everyone on that. And then part 2, something I didn't realize, when I ordered this printer, Prusa actually sends you a beginner course on their website. So my understanding is that course will kind of walk you through the unboxing, the setup of the printer, your first print, how to download 3D printing files, and then how to use some of the modeling software. So a nice little bonus to buying this printer. So without further ado, let's get into the unboxing. The first step, once you've unboxed all the parts, is we're going to remove the wire harness cover. Once we've got that removed, we're going to end up connecting 3 different cables, and then we'll start piecing together the 2 separate units. The first cable is the LCD screen cable. As you can see, I'm struggling with it a bit here. It requires you to take about a 180-degree turn once you're inside the wire harness box. I eventually am able to get it in though. After I connected the LCD screen cable, the next step is to take the 2 separate units, slide them against each other, and then we're going to take this one long screw and connect it to a sliding bracket. This part was fairly challenging because once you've slid it behind the piece, you're basically going blind at this point. So this step took me about 30 minutes of going in and out, playing with the screw, and eventually finally getting a connection. There are 2 additional screws that we have to connect after you get the first one connected. There's one off to the left, and then there's going to be this top one that's probably the easiest to get in. Once you get the 3 screws connected to the sliding brackets, you're going to take the XY axis and slide it down so it sits flush with the Z axis, as you can see here. My one frustration with this printer as I was putting it together was you can see that I was scratching the frame as I was connecting the screws to those sliding brackets. Next, you connect the 2 power cables, the red and black cable here that I'm pointing to. The third and final cable connection is the filament sensor. Once you've connected these 3 cables, you're going to take the wire harness cover and screw it back into place. Here's a spool of filament I purchased after buying the printer so that I was prepared to start printing some items, and then the filament spool holder. Alright, real quick update for everyone. We are on day 2 of putting this together. It took me about 2.5 hours last night to get to the point that we're at. The instruction manual is actually really helpful. A lot of good pictures, kind of color-coded. For me, it took me a little longer because I tried to film some of this. I'm not very experienced doing this yet, so that slowed me down, and then I'm a little bit more methodical when it comes to putting stuff together, so I just wanted to make sure I was doing everything right. At this point, I just need to put this plate on here, plug it in, and then we can start doing our first test print. So let's keep going. Once you've turned the Prusa on for the first time, it's going to run you through a setup wizard that will test the fan, test the hot end temps, and then do a quick calibration just to make sure that all the axes are working correctly. Then we're going to load the filament into the printer. Every time you do a print with the Prusa printer, it's going to go through a 16-point calibration probe test just to make sure that the bed's auto-leveled. You can see initially the filament started to come out really oozy and it wasn't quite going in a straight line. So what I'm doing here is dropping the nozzle height down until we get a smooth and level print. And finally, we move on to the test print. I decided to go with this Prusa logo. As you can see, I have a little bit of edging issues with this printer. I was able to fix it. It just required me to go back in and lower my nozzle height so that it was closer to the bed as it was printing. Alright, so at the end of the first night, I was able to print the Prusa logo, which they recommend to do first to kind of make sure you've calibrated it accordingly. Then I went ahead and printed a large meeple, just because I thought that'd be kind of fun. I originally tried to print a bunch of smaller meeples, and they kept not sticking to the printer bed, or the filament would kind of catch and then pop them off. So I think lessons learned, at least so far, is print larger and you won't have issues, but I also want to keep trying to maybe print some smaller items and see if that's a printer issue or if I'm doing something wrong. But there's kind of the first night of printing. I think at this point, I'm going to keep posting videos, maybe weekly videos of what I've printed that week. My next planned print, I think, is going to be some game component holders, and then I'll probably print a couple maybe minifigs or something just for myself or to share with my family. So I'll keep you guys up to date on how things are going and what things I'm learning and fails that I'm having. Thanks.